Carey, and then with him is Eric Arsnow.
Yeah.
He was the special effects individual. So all the really like psychedelic things that you saw on the screen, he probably made that happen.
No, it wasn't a problem. He did do it.
Okay, there you go. So I'm going to go out in the audience, and we're going to do our question and answer. First of all, raise your hand if you have a question for Derrick and Eric. Okay. I was going to go out there, and then I have a few questions for myself as well. So,
just out of curiosity, the one that played the mom, and then the sheriff, and then the kind of spiritual. Were they in the first film? But they did a lot of '60s and '70s stuff, didn't they?
Yeah. One of the main things about this movie was that it came into motion because the lead actress that played kind of the heel of the movie, Jackie Naaman Jones, is the little girl from the original Manos Hands of Fate. So the master from the original one, he's in here, Tom Naaman. As you pointed out, I mean, most of the older actors in this movie are from the original film. They all came back. So.
Okay, well, thank you.
questions? I could be Donahue. Probably a reference that nobody knows now.
So what was the reaction of those older actors when you went to them and said you wanted to make Manos too?
Well, I wasn't a part of that process, but the director, she was friends with Jackie for a long time. And this was kind of a passion project for many years for Jackie, I believe, because her entire life has been swallowed up by Manos, just because of, once Mystery Science Theater took Manos and it became what it was, kind of like some actors where they get pigeonholed with certain roles, her entire life became about Manos, for better or for worse. I mean, she's written books, she's gone out when they did the restoration of Manos and roadshowed with it, and so she was very excited to get this going. And then when they did the Kickstarter, and as you could see, the 20-minute long Kickstarter list that was in the credits, she was surprised so many people cared. And so this was kind of a labor of love for everybody that was involved. And it shows, I mean, there are other people that have done fan sequels to Manos, but there's something about this one where it's cute, it's fun, it's kind of bubbly, it's a little dark, but it isn't something that was just thrown together for the sake of being thrown together. So.
Do you know if there's going to be a Manos 3D or anything?
I don't know. If anyone's putting this to the internet, Tanya, you better get on that, I guess. That's a gimmick we need to see, I suppose.
Yeah, get a hold of Tanya.
Another question?
And kind of, you and I had an earlier conversation, and I meant to bring up, do you know anything about them maybe doing another or kind of reviving Spider Baby? And Spider Baby seemed to have kind of a cloud around it too. Lon Chaney Jr., I think it was one of his maybe last films he was in. He actually sings in the credits and stuff. And there were some racial issues in there, but for its time, it was pretty dark and kind of twisted for, I don't know when it was made. There's different stories. It was like early 60s, 67, you know, but I don't even think it was shown publicly at theaters that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very similar story with Manos as well. I mean, Manos was one of those local productions that came together on a dare. I believe it was a bet. Like the guy who made the original Manos, he had a bet with somebody, and he bet him he couldn't make a movie. He wrote the plot on I think on a barroom napkin, and they got a bunch of stuff together, and they made what is arguably one of the worst movies ever made in the existence of humanity. And Spider Baby, though, Jack Hill, do you know very much about that story whatsoever? I can't really speak to it.
Scenes of it, no, yeah. I mean, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Great.
It doesn't relate to Manos in any way, but yeah, everybody here should watch Spider Baby. That thing is absolutely amazing.
Actually.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Yep.
More questions? Because I have a question too. Okay, here. Let me go around now. Yeah.
Double time it.
Give Paul a workout, please.
How long did it take from conception to in the can to make this one?
I believe, I know editorially we were on this for about a year, and they shot this, I believe, if I remember correctly, in the summer of 2016, and before that, this had a really weird gestational period of like where it started to where it ended. Rachel Jackson, who was when the movie opens, you see one of the brides, her eyes are closed, and they open, and she sees Torgo in front of her. She's like the lead bride. She's one of the main people that kind of put this into Tanya's hands, the director, because she did a production. This is a Pacific Northwest production. It was made in Portland, and the director and Rachel are out of Seattle. And she did a production of Manos called Manos Hands of Felt, which is a puppet production of Manos. So it's kind of weird how they came into really making this film. So it was, I would probably say, and I mean, I'm not a spokesperson for, the production of the film, because we dealt with most of the post-production, the back end of it. I want to say it was probably roughly around 2 years that this kind of took place, because even though we had a huge Kickstarter budget for this film, it's still a really low budget film. So it's all of us have day jobs and have to do this whenever we can. So.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. I like this.
I know there was some question there, somebody was trying to get the copyright done from that. The original the grandson or something like that was trying to get the copyright back for that. Do you know much information? I know it resolved itself, but do you know much about how?
I don't know if I can really speak to that very much. I know some of the details, but I don't want to speak out of turn about that. I know that there were legal issues with the film, and as of right now, the film is currently being shopped around for distribution, so I don't know legally what has been resolved between the families for this film. I wish I could give you a better answer about that, but yeah, there's been some issues with that.
Right, because I know Jackie discussed something on her webpage, it explains part of what had been going on with it, because a lot of the horror hosts will show that show over and over again.
Oh yeah.
And we like public domain stuff, what we're seeing, like some films get pulled. Somebody tried to pull Night of the Living Dead from one of the horror hosts, saying it got a copyright claim to it, but I think that was the colorized version, which was, you could copyright that versus just blank stuff.
Well, yeah, the big thing with Night of the Living Dead is this, and the story goes, originally it was under the name of Night of Anubis, and the distributor or whoever was putting it together said, that's a terrible name, let's change it over to Night of the Living Dead, and when they changed the title card of Night of the Living Dead, they didn't put the copyright information on that, which immediately put it into the public domain. So that's where that falls. So when they started doing other subsequents, that's why they went and did the remake with Tom Savini and all that stuff. So they could finally make money on this movie that was arguably one of the most important films in all of horror. But Manos, yeah, that like it's kind of alluded to before, it was a local homegrown kind of film, and I may be talking out of turn here, and I mean, I'm not a Manos historian by any stretch of the imagination, but I do believe it kind of went into the public domain for a long time, because nobody cared about this film.
Mr. Shine's Theater jumped on it because of that too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, this movie would probably, this movie would have never been made, but Manos would have never had the notoriety had a Mystery Science Theater hadn't picked it up and kind of, made it to be, one of their biggest episodes, so.
Well, so I remember Manos from late night television back in the early 70s before Mystery Science Theater, so I'm one of the older fans.
Oh yeah, you're OG, baby.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
thanks.
So before I move to this person who's right next to is there anybody on the opposite side of the room?
Can we have people that are way in the back, like, so we can see Paul run?
Okay, I'll be back to you.
I'm enjoying this.
So as editor, is there anything that got cut that you would have liked to see in the movie?
There really isn't anything that was deleted, like deleted scenes. This is a film that, you know, super ultra low budget. What they shot is what you got. It's not like some other films where, you know, they think they're making a magnum opus and they have like a 2-hour long movie made for 10 cents and you look at it and go, what the hell is this? No, they knew what they were doing. They went in there. And so editorially, it was a really easy movie to kind of deal with and handle. And fortunately, everything's on the screen. So no big scenes where, you know, big bath orgy scenes were cut.
I was just wondering what the two of you, what your first exposure to Manos was. Was it through Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah, mine definitely was, like, when they were airing it during Saturday morning and stuff like that, and Sci-Fi Channel caught it that way, so.
Yeah, mine was too. My brother and I grew up as Joe Bob Briggs drive-in theater freaks, and when Mystery Science Theater came around, we were just, it was insatiable the amount of time we spent trying to seek out and watch all that stuff. So, I mean, my brother, Shane, who's a comic book artist, would literally walk around the house like this. So, yeah, I mean, when Tanya came to me about editing this piece, they had originally, they had another editor attached to this film, and they, for some reason or another, dropped out. And so they were kind of in a pinch, and they had already had most of the budget kind of wrapped up in the production stuff. And she got a hold of me because I had worked with her on a number of her other films, and just in real small post capacities and whatnot. And she got a hold of me and was like, hey, would you, I know this is a big, you know, favor, would you do this for me? And I was kind of like, usually I will tell people, at this point, I mean, I've been involved with film for a long time, and I kind of tell it, well, if you don't have a budget, I don't really have the time. But this one, I was just, the little kid in me was just like, yeah, I kind of want to do that. Yeah, and so, I mean, it's not just, because then it ended up being like, I ended up doing voiceover work. When Manos is on the screen, like when you hear his voice, that's me. I always kind of kick down the door and force my way into stuff. So,
Manos compels you.
Yeah, Manos compelled me. He approved. The master approved.
Thank you.
So you said there were no deleted scenes, but is there a bloopers reel that you got?
I was never commissioned to edit a bloopers reel. Whether or not, because it's in talks for distribution right now, whether or not they include some of that, I don't know. That's past me at this point. Yeah, there's always bloopers. There's always funny stuff that goes on and the mess ups and stuff like that. So, but I never cut anything like that.
So can you comment on anything that you thought was really, really funny that you would like to share?
God, I'm going to disappoint you. I can't really say I have anything that was okay, I do have one thing that it went up before the film was finished, which this is completely a film that was cross-continental. It was like everyone that was involved in the post of this movie is from all the coasts, and also Canada. So this was a film that was remotely edited and everything. But while we were in the process of editing, there was one scene where the kissing couple in the film are an actual couple. And during one of the scenes where, and I want to say it's in the car, like one of the opening sequences where, you know, they're talking about Sharknado and all this shit, he proposed to her, and she accepted. And we had that, because Joe, the director of photography, was rolling the entire time. So that's one scene, obviously. I think it may be up on Facebook or on YouTube.
Yeah, I think they just like announced it recently, because I think they got married this past summer, didn't they?
Yeah, it was very recently that they finally got married. But yeah, it's super adorable. It was cute. So that's the one deleted scene. Who knows, maybe that might go on a DVD or Blu-ray or whatever ends up happening with this film.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question? Okay, I have a question for Eric then. How much freedom did you have on the special visuals, or did they tell you what they wanted and then you had to come up with it, or did you come up with it on your own?
Actually, that was, yeah, one of the cool parts about this project. They had a loose idea for direction on what to do. And then as far as my role went, the film itself kind of feels like weirdly timeless in a way. You don't really know like when it's actually taking place. So I was trying to keep a lot of the post effects, you know, a bit more organic and feeling like they were older. And so I just tried a few things and sent it Tanya's way, and she was super awesome and really enjoyed it. So there wasn't really like a lot of tweaking on my end. They just kind of let me play with it and go with it. So.
This question is for the both of you. Is there a different approach to dealing with post-production on a film that's kind of established like Manos, or versus something that's original, like something that nobody's ever seen? Is there a different approach to handling that type of movie?
As far as my end on that, that was something that I took into consideration, and when doing the effects, I purposefully did something that didn't 100% exist in the original, just because I wanted to bring something new to whoever was seeing this version of film. So that was my take on it. But.
Yeah, and that was kind of the cool thing about this project, is that even though it is rooted in the old film, Tanya was attempting something different. It's much darker, and it's more violent, and it's kind of a little more dreamy, even though the whole back half of the original Manos is just a complete, like, what is that? Who knows? But when it came to like going at this, I went at this as I went any other movie I've ever edited, where the only difference was that I did research on the original Manos, because I know that they wanted direct references and direct beats to how things would play out in it. So, I mean, obviously cross-reference the original Manos, watched that way too many times, and then try to put my own flavor into it, because let's be honest, the original Manos is a slow slog of a film to watch. So I tried to pep it up a little bit, maybe just not have it breathe as much as it did. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it is, with a film like this, you want to respect the past, but the whole point of this is to kind of give it a kick a little bit and pump it up, so, yeah.
Where is Manos's original robe?
Well, that I can't answer. I know, unfortunately, Mr. Tom Naiman, he passed away shortly after principal photography, but I'm pretty sure, I don't want to speak out of turn here. Do you know?
Well, I don't know that, but speaking to that too, like I guess that's one behind the scenes thing that's kind of crazy, is Tom actually passed away while I was working on the graphics for this. So then continuing to look at his face while like doing all these eerie psychedelic things was kind of creepy in itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, it was kind of melancholy once he passed away, and working on it, because he seemed like a genuinely jolly individual, and we're just trying to make him this demented, crazy man in this. I kind of forget what the original question was. The robe. I would probably, you know what? Questions like that, if you want to know, Jackie is 100% available on Facebook, and she will answer every question you have about this, and she's one of the most sweet individuals you will ever meet. So definitely reach out to her.
You were talking about special effects. That one scene where you actually had the hands, the motion of the hands, was that something that was thought up by you, or was that part of the original draft of the movie? Or
Yeah, I mean, that was something that I was just messing around with. I had seen Derrick's rough cut, and one of the things that I guess kind of influenced a lot of my decision making too was the lighting was super awesome in a lot of the more creepy scenes with a lot of the reds and blues and stuff like that. So I was also kind of pulling from all of my love of like giallo films and stuff like that, and throwing that in the mix as well. So
can I ask you how you did that?
it's actually just like affecting the way the time is being interpreted with the footage, and then messing with how fast that's happening, so eventually the hands will catch up with the normal real time.
So it's all digital then?
Yeah, that one was all digital. A lot of the cloud tank stuff and things like that was practical, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Who are your influences?
In general?
In general, and then maybe movie-wise? Especially if it's me.
Interesting. Oh, I think Eric kind of alluded to, Eric and I have worked together on a lot of projects. 4 or 5 feature films at this point. And we both kind of have the same sensibilities when it comes to film, so I think that's why we keep, whenever a project comes up, I call on to him almost immediately, because I know he's going to knock it out of the park, and we both are huge lovers of Italian, old 70s exploitation and horror film. That's like a big and primary influence. With me, I'm a huge Dario Argento fan, so the fact that there's going to be a new Suspiria coming out has me jumping for joy. I can't wait for this, even though it's not going to look anything like it. But yeah, we're big fans of cult exploitation and horror films, and that's primarily where we kind of lay our heads.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger motivators too for me, getting into practical effects and things like that, was Michel Gondry, because I would see his music videos a lot while growing up. So besides the horror, that was another huge influence of mine.
Great. Additional questions? All right, so I keep getting too close. Okay, all right, Derrick, Carey, and Eric Arsnow? Arsnow.
Sorry.
Let's give a round of applause to them. Thank you.